There's war going on in this world. A war on freedom.
He's acting outside of his authority by saying you can't put something that you want in your own body. That's your own personal choice, and can't nobody take that from you, you know?
You're one of these taxpayers, and these are all your documents, and this is how we're going to rob you. It's fucked up, man.
It's more war, it's more spending, it's more debt, and it's less freedom.
We don't do that here.
Some people think that you can't be radical and pragmatic.
This is what we need, is a pragmatic radicalism, not moderation. Hardcore radicalism, but smart shit.
It's not sitting in a fucking basement with a bunch of fucking nerds.
You don't know shit, and that's the thing. You have to talk to people who think differently than you.
Like, his focus is not how horrible the government is, it's how wonderful liberty and freedom are.
That's what drives us.
People are coming together more and more and more and more as the government has been failing us.
We're just getting started.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fight for Liberty Live. We've got an awesome show for you guys tonight. I've been really excited about this one for a while, but first we got to do a little bit of housekeeping and tell you about some of our awesome sponsors for the show. Same as always, Nugg of Knowledge. They're my favorite sponsor because they were my first and they'll probably be my last. So Nugg of Knowledge is a great place to get all of your premium legal cannabis items. So whether you're looking for CBD, CBG, we've got flower, we've got Delta-8 THC cartridges, we've got some edibles, all sorts of stuff. Go to nuggofknowledge.com. You can use that promo code F4L to get 10% off your first purchase, and you'll help out the show, the network, everything. It's awesome. Or, you know, if you want to just go on to Nugg of Knowledge and buy me some stuff because I'm out at the moment, that would be also awesome. But I'm mostly kidding. Get it for yourself. Our other sponsor, the one, the only, Tom Queter. He is rolling for New York State Senate, and he is doing a great job so far. We're really excited about this campaign. So if you want to learn more about Tom Queter, or if you want to help out, there are links in the description below to find out more about his campaign or donate. Or just, like, you know, go to his Facebook page and give it a like or a reply or something. Tell him he's awesome. Whatever you want to do. Help out the campaign however you see fit. That would be super great. But today we're doing a Right for Liberty special. So I've got 4 guests tonight. All of them are awesome authors. I have read at least excerpts of all of these people's books, if not large chunks, and I like all of their writing styles. I like how they've been able to include liberty into their writing, even if the writing isn't about liberty specifically. So I'm going to bring them up one by one. We've got my good friend, Mr. Harrison Kemp, all the way from Maine. He is the author of A Parasite's Paradise, as well as Closing Freedom, which is what I'm currently reading. Next up, we have Mr. Derek Wills, the host of Gentlemen for Liberty and the author of The Liberty Solution. And for the record, you guys can find the links to all of these books also in the description if you want to go check them out. Next up, we have back on the show our favorite Canadian, Mr. Killian Hobbs, from Being Libertarian and Think Liberty, also the author of Bad Arguments and the head of Champion Books, which we'll talk about more on this. And then last but definitely not least, the one, the only, Jack Casey, author of the Royal Green series, and now, what is it, Wolves, Vampires, and Witches. Correct? Did I say that in the right order?
Hell yeah.
Okay. I was so afraid when I wrote that down that I mixed up the W's, and
I do the same thing, honestly. It's kind of it's a choose your own adventure book in a way.
I dig it. Well, welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Yeah.
All right. So my first question, I'll just have you guys kind of go one by one to answer because it's for everybody. Were you guys always into writing, or is this something that you found later on in life? And let's just go in the order I brought you guys up.
Yeah, so for me, I actually hated writing most of my life. I did not like writing anything. I didn't even really like reading. And it's because I was taught that when you write, you have to write about these specific topics. I only ever wrote for school. So I never really got to explore my imagination, my creativity. And it was never writing about something I wanted to write about. It was writing about a book that I didn't want to read. So when I got older and started being a little more creative and thinking outside the box and trying to think of a way to really tell a story, that's when I got into writing. It wasn't until I was about 27, 28 that I got into writing.
Oh, wow. What about you, Derek?
So I always kind of had a knack for writing. I wouldn't say that I enjoyed it, but I do recall there were a couple of times in high school where I made a nice little side income writing papers for people. But after that, I didn't really write all that much. I was, let's see, I was probably 2014, 2015. I'm a kind of a libertarian leaning conservative at this point in my life, and I'm trying to get out all this pent up anger that I have. And a friend of mine suggested that I start writing op-eds. And so I did that, and, I got published first by IJ Review, did a couple of pieces there, did Being Libertarian a couple of times. And after that, I realized I actually enjoy writing because, like Harrison said, you're picking the topics that you want to write about. And then from there, I decided, okay, yeah, I'm going to write a book.
Nice. Killian?
Yeah. For me, I've always had an enjoyment of just storytelling and being able to kind of like craft ideas, craft a world, be able to put ideas into different people's minds just by talking to them or writing it out or having that kind of just conversation, that discourse in whichever way you can have it. I didn't really start getting into the writing side of things until probably 2014, 2015. Primarily just with like articles and stuff like that. Because I realized, I'm spending so much effort just pissing it away in like Facebook comment sections and stuff like that, and arguing with social media, all that sort of stuff. And I say to myself, for the amount of time I'm researching and doing all that, you know what, may as well put together something proper. And that just kind of snowballed into everything now.
Nice. What about you, Casey?
If you're asking, have I always been a huge nerd? The answer is yes. I've been, as a lover of stories and with a big imagination as a kid growing up, and being a huge fan of different series, I was always writing to process stuff and, using creative outlets to channel things like anger and other things, as mentioned. And then it was only when I was around 17 that I had the crazy idea of actually finishing and trying to publish something at some point. And it took me much longer to then actually finish writing, editing, and do it. But yeah, through that process, I also discovered a lot of my current political and philosophical and even spiritual beliefs, because through that process, I was asking myself those deeper questions, trying to figure out, what I really think and why, and exploring that through the characters and the storytelling. So here I am now.
Nice. And I really like you posted something, I think it was just yesterday, where you said, I don't write to sell books. I sell books so I can write. and I honestly, I loved that. Like that sounds like the way that it's supposed to be, not like
it is half plagiarized. I will say it's a very thinly veiled reference to a character in another story. But I changed it for my purposes. Yeah. So yes, borrowed, but repurposed.
I dig it. Actually, which is a good kind of lead into what I first wanted to talk about, because I think, Jack, your books are probably do the most of this. But what's really interesting to me about your guys' books is that you were able to, like I said in the intro, kind of combine your philosophies with your passions. So even like Killian, like I feel like people could read bad arguments without being a libertarian, because it's still pretty prevalent to most pieces of life. Same with Harrison. Your allegory is not necessarily, you don't have to be a libertarian to read your guys' books, which is something that I think is cool. But I wanted to, this doesn't have to be like an organized, more of just a conversation of how you guys were able to kind of combine your passions with with your writing?
So for me, I actually didn't write A Parasite's Paradise for libertarians. I wrote it for the quote unquote normies. So that way they could have a bridge to libertarianism where they don't feel like they're being propagandized. But in reality, as anyone who's read the book knows, the entire thing is basically libertarian propaganda. I go through the philosophy, I go through history, I go through intellectual heroes in the libertarian movement, people who have really put their mouth where their, or excuse me, put their money where their mouth is and lived the libertarian philosophy. People like Herbert Dow, who was able to evade the German markets when they were trying to force him out of Germany. He was a chemical provider. And they were saying, nope, we're going to undercut you. We're not going to allow you to sell here. And he comes in and starts just buying all their products and undercutting them. And so he's someone in the book. You'll meet Paul Krugman. You'll meet Mises. You're going to meet so many people that we as libertarians know, but the normies don't. They've never heard of them. And then, the latest book I wrote that specifically for libertarians. So I think a lot of us have a really big kind of gap in what we do. We're very interested in a lot of things, and like you said, that just allows us to have a kind of big breadth of knowledge on these topics.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Like for myself, whenever I'm trying to write something, I always think to myself, one of the biggest things that I think you need to be able to answer when you're writing something is, who is this for, right? Like sometimes you write a project just for yourself, or you have a certain audience in mind, or a certain thing you're trying to accomplish with what you're writing. I've always tried to write from the perspective of, I want to get my ideas and thoughts and arguments and all that stuff out there. And I want to get it out there in a way that someone could actually change their mind by reading this. So that's always kind of shaped the way that I try to present my arguments, or the way that I try to just shape the way that I write things, so that it's not, it's not put out in a way where people who already agree with me are going to love it. It's put out there so that people who don't agree with me will actually give it the time of day, and then that can turn into a conversation, and that can turn into a convert.
Nice. I dig it. Yeah, I feel like you brought up a really good point there of like, who's it for, and yeah, I like that it's kind of a wide breadth when we're talking about all the different books, especially what you just mentioned, Harrison. Like a lot of you guys have a couple of different kind of avenues that you've targeted with your various writings, and they're, especially you're all over the place with like your homelessness pamphlet, and then like an allegory over here, and then a sales book over here. Like,
yeah, I try to cover everything. That way no one can say that I haven't given these things thought. For instance, like I wrote the whole pamphlet on homelessness because I'd gotten into a conversation with someone and I realized I just didn't have the information at my hand. Like I had the philosophical underpinnings to make a good argument for why the free market would be better. But when push came to shove, I realized I didn't have the actual intellectual firepower of, well, here's what is causing the problems. Here's what we could do to fix it. So that's what motivated me for that. So like Killian was saying, I knew the audience for that was, it was first, the research was for myself, but then the writing of it was for people who want to believe that the free market can do everything, but don't actually believe that yet. The conservative types who say, well, we need all these social programs because it's really going to help us improve the economy and yada, yada. Being able to give them the free market answer from someone who's more free market than them, but also at the same time bringing in the left-leaning types when I talk about, mental health issues and drug addiction and how we can fix those problems to help fix the homelessness crisis. And then, yeah, all the way to a sales book where I'm teaching you how to go out and have these conversations.
Which is a great book, but so far, by the way. I'm like halfway through it now. It's still taking me so much longer to read it than it took you to write it.
Yeah, that was a quick book. I was really surprised. That whole thing went from first words on paper to printed in about 3.5 months.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it seems like we each, it's cool that like you've said, like we're trying to reach people who aren't already fully on our team. And the fact that we've all usually at some point not been on this team, we can relate to how it felt to be someone before that process. And so trying to write to them in a way that kind of re-walks them through the journey you went through by kind of phrasing stuff in the way that made sense to you at the time that got you going too. That's really cool.
I like that.
In my case, I'm just, what I'm doing is using swords and magic to dazzle and confuse and then ensnare them with the libertarian ideas. But I like that helps bleed into the fantasy world where people are looking for that, and then they can go, oh, I learned a little something too while I was here. And then they can then pick up your guys' books and go, okay, now what is this actually about, and get the real the real stuff.
Yeah, I like that with your book, Jack. It actually gives you an idea of what a libertarian world could look like, which I think for most people, even most libertarians, that's a difficult thing to really picture and talk about and say, like, what it would actually be like without this atrocious authoritarian government over us, because none of us have ever experienced actual liberty. And there's a couple of other books and movies and stuff, but there's not a whole lot out there that shows like what could happen in a good way. We've got like RoboCop and Judge Dredd and all of like the complete opposite version of like sci-fi and fantasy, but there isn't a whole lot that can actually just be like, this is what liberty would look like tangibly. It's not that bad. See, the world isn't burning it's all right.
Yeah. See examples of when the heroes might win or buy themselves some time of peace or some kind of prosperity, where you can actually see, oh, look, here's the good outcome maybe that you could have if you don't fuck it up.
For sure. So Derek, I know your book is a little bit less along these lines of like messaging to non-libertarians. You've got the whole Statue of Liberty on the cover, and it looks also badass cover, by the way.
Thank you. I was to be honest, I told the graphic artist, I said, look, the Statue of Liberty is very overused. I'm not opposed to using it, but chances are I won't use a design with the Statue of Liberty in it. So, I mean, you can create some concepts, but it's got to be unique and powerful for me to pick it. And lo and behold, that was the one that I ended up going with.
Nice. So I do want to talk about getting endorsements and other people to kind of promote your books. I know, Derek, you have the foreword in your book is by Walter Block, which is really awesome. So I'm curious how you got that to happen.
So when we all y'all spoke about your journeys. When I first started writing this book, I was a few steps above a minarchist. I was a libertarian, but still, somewhat statist. And as I went through the journey of writing it, I became more and more of an ANCAP. During the middle of my writing, my goal was to have Austin Peterson write the foreword, because I thought that he was just the greatest thing. Well, I've since learned otherwise. But once I realized that AP wouldn't be the right person to write the foreword for this, I went to the Mises Caucus group, and I'm just like, hey guys, here's what happened. I no longer want to have AP, anywhere near this project. Who would y'all recommend? And Stephen Clyde actually recommended that I reach out to Walter Block, and I shot him an email, just kind of in the dark, and he was absolutely he loved the idea, and he was happy to write it, and I was blown away whenever I actually got his forward. It was probably one of the most humbling compliments I've ever received in my life. So I still can't believe that he wrote the forward to my first book.
That is pretty awesome. I think there's a little bit of reverb coming through, and I think it's on your end, Derek. I don't know if you guys are hearing that, or maybe it's just on my end.
Sounds like someone's cutting their hair.
Yeah,
But
That's the CIA listening in. That's their bugging equipment freaking out.
The NSA was really intrigued by this episode. They really wanted to know how we propagandize what we're doing.
Right.
Okay, so you muted and it
That
didn't
sucks,
stop, so I don't think it's actually you.
Okay, well, Mr. NSA agent, I hope that you enjoy the show.
Yeah, they might learn something while they're here.
Right?
They might turn to our side, so this is good.
That would be great. A girl can dream, can't she? Right?
So the next thing I want to ask you guys about is how you actually got your books published, because I know that for a lot of people that's like the main thing kind of holding them back is that, you know, maybe I could write it, but then how the fuck am I going to actually get it printed and produced? And I don't have enough money to do all of that. So if I'm not mistaken, all of you guys kind of went different routes for that. So I'm curious how they all went. If you want to go like in the same order that you're on the screen.
Yeah, so I actually asked Dr. Block's advice on this. You know, he's somebody that published, you know, several books. He's edited several books. And he had said, you know, whenever he first published Defending the Undefendable, it was rejected over 500 times. So keep asking literary agents. Well, I got to about 200 rejections, and I decided to go against his advice, and I just published on Amazon. And this wasn't just, you know, out of frustration. I actually spoke with some people that were in publishing, that worked in publishing, and talking about the pros and cons of getting a literary agent versus self-publishing. And to me, I decided just to do Kindle Direct Publishing through Amazon, just because of weighing the pros and cons. It seemed like a better deal for me, because this is not, anarcho-capitalism is not a mainstream idea. It's not going to be a New York Times bestseller. And in order for me to sell this, I have to market it, and I would have to do that regardless if I had a literary agent or not. So ultimately, it was just, do you like having a bigger royalty and still having to do the same amount of work that you would have to do for a smaller royalty, or, you know, or what? So I just decided, okay, I'm going to self-publish, and this same individual hooked me up with the graphic artist as well as a typesetter and an editor. So it actually worked out quite well.
Well, in my case, excuse me, weird throat thing all day. Hopefully not the other thing. But no, so in my case, I pitched the idea to Champion Books, which was which is a subsidiary thing for Being Libertarian, who I was already kind of involved with anyway, with some of the writing and editing there. I pitched it with them. They liked the idea. I just kind of worked with the editors we had in house to kind of get everything wrapped up and put together. Added a bunch of extra content to it because a good chunk of it was a collection of articles that I had previously written. So, like, not to use it as a plug, but with the Champion Books thing, the way we've got it set up is it's kind of like in the middle between literary agent and self-publishing. So you still get some of the assistance and help in getting it all built up and set and ready to go, but it's not as tricky of a process as some of the other routes are. Like, I know if I had to put out, 200, 300, 400 applications to places to get it published, I'd have ended up shelving the thing, I'm sure. But so just from some of the connections there and just talking to people for publishing articles, that's what led to eventually making the book and then kind of having that option there.
Nice. You can feel free to push Champion Books as much as you want in this episode, for sure. What about you, Harrison?
So for me, I actually just went the self-publishing route right away. I didn't have money for an editor or a graphic designer or to get it published or any of that. So I just looked at it and I said, I don't have an audience. I don't really know how this is going to do. I don't want to get myself into a position where I owe some company money for a book that doesn't sell. So I just went the Amazon route right away. I did all the editing myself. I made the stupid cover that looks like Donkey, and that was how I did it. It was a lot of work to do it all, but it was really worth it when I got the first book in my hand and I read it and I went, holy crap, this is cool. And then giving books away to friends and family and whatnot, having people come back and be like, hey, you've misspelled these words and that words and all that. And I'm just like, get away from me. I don't want to hear about it, but yeah, so for me, that was really the process. And that's what I've done for the 2 books that I've written and the pamphlet, is self-published, edited all myself, made the covers and whatnot. So if anybody out there is listening that wants to publish the books, I'm available. And I will give away what was freely given to me. So the way that I figured out how to do this was actually because of Tom Wood's podcast. And he would talk about, he's got a whole web page, tomwoods.com/publicity, I think it is. And what he'll do is basically help you learn how to go through the process. And it's completely free. You don't have to give him a dime. And so whether you like the guy, you hate the guy, whatever your feelings on him are, if you want to self-publish a book, this is a free class that'll teach you how to do it in about 20 minutes. That's how I did it.
That's awesome. Nice. How about you, Mr. Casey?
Yeah, I just, I went on down to the Amazon headquarters here in Seattle and knocked on Mr. Bezos' door. Got in there, got down on my knees, and the rest is no. I did choose to self-publish through Amazon after flirting for a while with the traditional publishing route. But as I'm sure many of you also saw, the traditional publishing route has a lot of strings attached. You don't usually keep all the rights to the thing. There's conditions. It can be complicated, and it's kind of in a world where they like to push or highlight certain, topics or genders or things. So yeah, to have complete freedom to own 100% of the rights, I went with self-publishing with Amazon, and so far so good. I like that at any time I can publish anywhere else or take them off. They have no say in that. They just do my bitch work and they get the books out to people. So that's how I like to think of it.
Nice. I've never been a fan of Amazon, but when I talk to you guys about this, it seems like they do at least this one thing quite well. I hate the rest of their business model, but.
And it's really not that expensive too. So if you're an author and you're self-publishing books, you can buy copies of your own book for rather inexpensive from what you would normally think it would cost you, which is a great help because when you go to conventions, you go to, if you're running for office or something like that, you can carry them with you and sell them at events. And something Jack said that was really important is being able to have 100% control over your stuff, because we talk about some out there things from what the mainstream allows. So like in my first book, I called Paul Krugman someone who would endorse and fund slavery. I told the world about how, George Herbert Walker Bush was caught funding the Nazis with his UBC bank. Like I talk about some things, that your traditional publisher won't allow you to talk about, but Amazon doesn't care.
So far so good, right? Yeah. And if they do start to care, we have the right to leave and take our books with. I mean, there's no fine print there, so it's nice. Yeah.
And you can update your book too. So like if you publish your book and then someone comes back to you and they're like, hey, I noticed that you repeated a paragraph in the spot, you have the option to go back and edit it. So you're not just stuck with 1,000 copies of a book that's one.
Yeah. I'd even be open to anyone listening, and I've talked about this with a few people, just floating ideas around. But if we get libertarian sort of self-publishing stuff set up, or I'd be happy to publish through other things too and do something cool like that. But yeah, for now, Amazon's where the biggest market is. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of us. So for now,
yeah.
One of the main reasons I wanted Killian on this episode. Because yeah, I mean, I think Champion Books is kind of exactly what you just said, of like a libertarian themed self-publishing.
Oh, okay.
Kind of,
Hey, cool.
Kind of starting to get there. So
yeah, it's that's basically what we do. Is we'll have authors come to us with where they're not sure of the process, they don't know where to go, they need help with the editing, they need help with the getting the cover started, the basic marketing to get it rolling, everything like that. So when we get the book applications in, like we help them with that process. Sometimes we'll help with content if they need some direction there, stuff like that. Really just working with them to kind of get the finished product polished up, ready to go, get it out there, and then just use the, just the size of reach that we have through being libertarian and all that, and some of the other like subgroups that we're cross-connected with, all that sort of stuff, just kind of using that reach to get the message of those authors out, just to be able to put that content out there. So there's tons of libertarian or libertarian leaning people who get the chance to see, oh wait, there's actually like a book about this that wasn't written 60 years ago. Holy shit.
Nice. Yes. Liberty networking. Yes. I love it. Yeah. So far my strategy has just been memes, post controversial things on social media to get attention. And then, be on a podcast like this. So, I mean, this is all the above. Bring it on.
There you go.
I mean, the more flat earth things you post, the more people are going to want to argue with you. Okay, we have a comment, and I have to address this because Matt Wright's on right now. Like, so I did invite him.
Who told him? How did he find out?
I did invite Matt. I asked him if he had time afterwards, if he wanted, after his show was over, if we were still going, if he wanted to hop on, that would be awesome. I don't know if he is going to, because I know he's kind of busy and not feeling all that great. But I did invite Matt. So whoever wrote that comment, shush. But Killian, speaking of Champion Books, how was the process for getting some of those? Because you guys have published a couple of books now. I'm curious, like how did you find some of those other writers? Did they all just kind of apply the same way that you just described, or did you go out and find people?
So for the first book that Champion Books put out, this is before I took over as the editor-in-chief for it. The first book they put out was a bunch of writers that were writing articles for the website already, or had written text post content for the Facebook page, different things like that. So they're people that had already put content out there and were writing in-house. So they came up with the idea of, hey, why don't we go through some key topics, do some proper detailed essays that, for the article format on websites don't really mesh with that well, do like proper long form, put it together and get that out there. So they worked on that project collectively for quite a bit of time. Forget the exact time frame, but I know it was, I know they all grumbled about how much time it took to cross work with each other on that one, but that was Igniting Liberty that they had out. Second book Champion Books did was mine. That one went a little bit faster because some of the content was pre-written from other projects there. Just kind of recrafted, expanded on, all that sort of stuff. Again, super easy process, pretty quick turnaround too. Like after we agreed on a final product, I think we had it ready to roll out inside a little less than a month, and that was including like marketing, planning, and all that sort of stuff. So wow, that was pretty good. Third book, similar thing, single author. They actually approached us with the idea, talking about sex work, the liberty movement, laws in the United States, the impact that has on society, how it's viewed, some of the issues there. So kind of a mix of the topic, but also biographical that was mixed in there. So for that third book, similar process, very heavy on the author side, working through a lot of it. And then just kind of working with us to fine tune a few last things, get it out, get it published, get it ready to roll. We've got 2 slated for this year that we've got in the editing process right now. I'm hoping to get that up to 4 before the year is out and really start to expand our library a fair bit. But it's a pretty straightforward process, thankfully. And then because it's libertarians talking to libertarians, we can get rid of a lot of the red tape of the conversation. Like our whole agreement for it is like 3 pages, and that's it. And most of that's
Nice.
just covering off, hey, this is how you get paid. This is what we keep. This is what you get. This is how this works. Okay, sign here. Great. Bye.
Nice.
Let's go sell Liberty.
So, Killian, I got a question for you. So if I wanted to have my book get published by Champion, who do I reach out to? Where do I go?
I mean, I'm the best person to reach out to, of course, if you actually know me. If not, if you go to beinglibertarian.com/champion-books, there actually is a option to contribute directly through there with just a basic pitch, not the full manuscript necessarily, but at least like a rough synopsis of what you're trying to do. Outside of that, you can also contact the page directly, and then one of the people will get back to you and get you the appropriate link if you need there through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. There's on Substack, Minds, whole list of it that they're involved with on social media. Honestly, best thing though for anyone out there that's happens to be at this particular point in the show looking at it, beinglibertarianeditor@gmail.com. Send it to me directly. That's my inbox. I go through the emails every day just to see for any articles that are coming through for the website, any book pitches that are coming through for Champion Books. And I love getting to reach out and connect to people in the Liberty movement that have something that they want to say and something they want to get out there that they've taken the time to actually like think to and through and work on, not just like schizo ramblings on a page, of course, but those ones get a little tiring. But
I mean, I feel a little called out, but okay.
That's probably what anything I tried to write would end up looking like. It's funny. I was just talking to you, Harrison, about this a couple of days ago, but like I have not done any sort of meaningful writing since high school. Like I haven't, like I do marketing and I do social media stuff, and so I'll do, like 5-6 paragraphs at the most. Is like the most that I've written in almost a decade at this point. So a bunch of people are trying to convince me to like start writing op-eds and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't know. Like this isn't a thing that I really do, but also kind of want to.
My advice with writing, if you're someone who doesn't like writing, but you feel like you need to write, is talk it out before you put it on paper. Especially someone who's a podcast host, you're used to talking through your ideas and explaining them that way. So record yourself and then use some kind of voice transcriber that can turn it into words for you. And this is going to do 80% of the process for you. Then you go back through, you edit what you don't like, you can expand on, you can contract ideas. That was how I first started writing blogs, was because I was much more into talking. I was used to giving classes. I was used to, giving lectures and things like that. I wasn't used to writing out something and really going in depth that way. So I just sat down and I think it was Soundtrap. They had a nice transcribing feature that I would use, and it would take my 20-minute rant and turn it into words that I could then edit and go from there with. So that's how I would suggest doing it if you're someone who doesn't like writing but wants to.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I feel like I started my podcast as a cop-out for writing. Like it's like why write when I could just say it? This is so much easier.
I can't find a pen. I just
Right. It's so much longer of a process to write when I could just say things. And even when I first started and I was doing some solo episodes, the script writing process started to become tiring too. And I would just like, I started off with like full scripts for my episodes, and by the time I stopped doing solo episodes, it was just like 4 or 5 bullet points to base a rant off of it, because I was just like, I don't feel like putting in all this work to write and edit, and so maybe I'm just lazy. That's probably.
I think it has to do the more comfortable with the material you are. I'm sure every one of the guys here that's written a book knows there are very few things you really have to go back and research again once you've done your initial round of research. From there, you can just sit down and do the damn thing and just write it. And it's the same way with podcasting.
Yeah. I'm definitely lazy in that I don't really want to have to go run out there and like stab bad guys with the swords. So I'll write about characters that do stab people with swords, and also so I don't get in trouble.
That and stabbing people with swords, that should remain a hobby. You shouldn't turn it into work.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to kill your passion. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Kill your
We have another question in the comments from Mr. Jonathan Howe, who's an awesome congressional candidate down in Queens. He's asking, what would Champion do if faced with a situation like Irwin Schiff, who died in prison for selling books about tax evasion?
Damn.
Ooh. I'm going to be honest. I'm not too familiar with the with that particular situation. I mean, if we had one of our authors die because they wanted a book put out there that included some content or another that they were having issues with, we would probably continue to sell it and make sure that the proceeds go directly to that person's family. We'd probably just shut off any of the actual revenue we were taking for ourselves and just push it straight through so that the family received the money, or if they didn't want it, then an appropriate charity of some sort at that point.
Nice.
Or if we got a request from family to pull it, we could do that. But chances are if they died to get the message out there, then we would do whatever we could to keep that message going at that point.
God, I wonder if there's a loophole for that. Like, I know others who've gotten in hot water have been able to say, look, I'm just here to entertain, it's all jokes. Maybe if maybe I can use my fantasy novel shield. We can say it's all fantasy novels. It's all fantasy. It's all pretend. Maybe, I don't know. That's very awful though. I don't know about that situation either. So I'm curious to look that up later, because that's pretty awful. Yeah.
If anyone wants to learn about Irwin Schiff, he's one of the main characters in my book.
Oh wow, okay. So you cover that.
Yeah. Very, very in depth.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really scary. I mean, obviously, as we know, the stuff we believe in and talk about, we joke, but it's so deadly serious, and we're basically openly, with our names and faces every day, talking about how much we hate the powers that be and everyone in charge, and that's why I have a lot of respect for all of you and anyone who's willing to go out there publicly, defy stuff, put it in writing with your name on it, and make it very, these are the voices we need. People who are willing to stick our necks out a bit, and that hopefully future generations will look back and thank us for. And hopefully we all make it to those future generations.
True that.
Scary.
Because things are getting weird. They're getting weirder.
I have to hire security now. I'm running for office.
Wow, really? Holy shit.
Because I'm terrified. Like,
damn, man.
Yeah,
I might need to get that sword.
Not going to be a hobby for much longer, Jack.
Yeah, I'll keep them sharp.
You guys ever think about using a pen name for your writing?
It's far too late for me, but that would have been smart 10 years ago. I mean, I considered it, but I was afraid I would just Iron Man the thing at the end, and I'd be like, I am Iron Man, because I just wouldn't be able to resist. And anyone who knows me would instantly recognize my work and be like, yeah, that's fucking Jack Casey. So I gave up on that for that. But I respect anyone else who can pull it off and is willing to do it. Yes.
I used to go by Miko Filippo, but I had the same issue. I just Iron Manned it within like 3 months.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine you trying to keep a lid on that, Jack. That doesn't sound like you.
I love the attention. I can't help it.
What about you, Derek? Have you ever thought about using a pen name?
I thought about it for a little bit, but by the time I came around to it, I had already been interrogated by the FBI, so they already knew. So
shit.
They, in fairness, though, they did not interrogate me about my book because it wasn't released yet. But I'm definitely on the list, even though the Freedom of Information Act request that I submitted months after the fact said we don't have anything with your name on it. Okay, that's a lie, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure every registered libertarian is on some list.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How dare you challenge
I'm sure
the wonderful entity that is known as the state.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if y'all know this, but when somebody gets elected, they transcend to a morally superior and incorruptible human being. That's why they get to tell us all what to do.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that
coronation ceremony.
That's the reason I want to get elected. It's not so I can make change or anything. It's just so I'm infallible and I'm like the science, and you have to trust everything.
It's like
no
a one step.
I write, what I talk about, I am right.
I like though too that, you know, because there is that calculation at some point when you get into this stuff and you start really reading about how fucked up the people in power really are, and you're like, man, am I going down this path? Am I going to be loud and obnoxious about the stuff and put a target on my head? And there's a temptation to be like, what if I just live this normal life, you know, take the blue pill, go back, Matrix, just dodge the bullet. But then you see what happens to every innocent person who isn't declaring themselves a threat at all, who gets fucked over by this government. And so really none of us are safe anyway. And I've come to feel like the more we speak up, yeah, we're the ones who got the biggest target on our heads first, but the more of us we recruit and the more of us are saying the same shit, that's kind of our own protection. The more of us there are, it's like a shield wall. It's like we're in a phalanx now, you know, like we can actually scare them back a bit and go, yeah, the people are waking up to this shit. You can't just be picking us off and scaring us anymore, because we're not alone.
It's still scary though. I mean, Erwin Schiff was somebody that died in prison talking about these types of ideas, and you know, it's sad that we have to go to these types of. It's not even extremes, but we have to promote these ideas that are considered extreme, and all we really want is just to be left the fuck alone. You know, I mean,
I know.
It's like,
ooh, scary.
Let me keep what I earn. Stop extorting money from me. Stop extorting property from me at the point of sale or what have you. Just leave me alone. But no, if you want to be left alone, we'll just murder you instead. How about that?
Yeah, and I have to say, like you said, Jack, you know, the government's fucking over pretty much everybody. So if I'm going to have a target on my back, I'd rather it be for spreading liberty than like smoking weed or any of the other jaywalking, or, you know, any of the other various things that I do illegally every day. Like I break so many laws. Yeah. Usually, yeah. But
where the hell is the side?
David, are you going to remember to claim your income from illicit drug sales this year on your taxes?
I will never understand that. The fact that they also have in there like that you're supposed to claim the income from theft. If you rob someone, you're supposed to tell the IRS.
That's how the government files its taxes.
If
IRS, show us how it's done.
If you kidnap a child for 6 months of the year, you can claim them as a dependent. You know. And if your child gets kidnapped for 6 months of the year, you can't claim them as a dependent anymore. Now you're committing tax fraud.
If you kneecap some guy, then you know it's got the same thing, because you're going to build the ramp for him, and then that's just right off right there for home building.
Right.
Well, it's funny you bring that up though, because it's the reason that's included in the tax code, and it's not just a uniquely U.S. thing. A lot of countries do that, where they basically expect criminals to file their taxes for being criminals, is because they want to be able to go after people after they catch them, and then strip them of money for back taxes for what they earned while they were committing crimes. It's literally
it feels like entrapment, scheme. Right? Because once you 100%. Put in writing, well, yeah, I committed this crime, they're like, gotcha.
Don't, and
it seems pretty obvious.
They're like, well, you've got back taxes now, so good luck working that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and these
ideas do back tax credits for kidnapping.
I mean, it depends on how good your attorney is and how good your accountant is.
Hopefully, really
Everything's
good.
a write-off if you do it right.
Well,
We should call this
talking
write-off.
about you know, gift books are so dangerous to the establishment that they're expensive as hell to buy. Like, you can't get an Irwin Schiff book that's still in print.
Wow,
And it's
really?
because he's
Holy
going.
crap.
Yeah, he's going through and showing you like, hey, this is how you don't pay taxes and all this and that. And he's doing it in a way where he's going through the tax code. He's not just sitting there with a tinfoil hat on and saying, screw them and this is what you do. You know, he's like, nope, according to this law and that law. And he's doing it at a real intellectual and legal level. And of course, he's got the philosophical underpinnings to it too, but that's not the real argument, because that argument doesn't mean anything to the courts. The courts don't care that we don't consent. They've long stated that they don't care. So with that, having that intellectual firepower, but they make it so expensive that you can't even learn. And then if you do learn how to do it, they're just going to kill you anyway.
Yeah, it's fucked
Is
up.
there a better definition of a slave master out there that exists? Because that's what you're describing is slavery.
Yeah, we live in a paradise. That's where I came up with the name. Like, it's the idea is, yeah, that's how I got the name, is because that's what we live in. We live in a system where the government has created just complete control over everything. And the second you start doing something they don't like, they can just change a law and now they can come after you. They can make up a law and come after you. They can steal your money for anything, no matter what you do. And with all of that, what better way to describe it than a parasite's paradise?
But what about my constitution?
Oh, I go through that too. Don't worry.
The sacred texts say that they can't do this.
The whole writ from the sky cloth says you can't take it.
It is at least encouraging that there's something in the air lately, and I don't know if you guys feel it too, but I feel like it's not complete, but do you sense that like the tide is starting to turn in our favor? Like the whole COVID thing blowing up lately, the fact that like mainstream media is just openly ridiculed, YouTube has to hide the dislike button. Like, even if we're not seeing the electoral results yet to get what maybe some of us want, just that culturally there's a lot of people just starting to figure some shit out. And at least maybe they haven't read your books yet to understand the full like picture of why they're right about this, but their instincts are telling them there's something wrong here and it needs to change, and they know that, and they're looking for those voices to fill that void and help explain and go, yeah, here's how we can do this, here's how we can take our power back. And really, I mean, really, it does reveal all the time, like this intimidation game they play by trying to target individuals, like they really don't have as much power as they pretend to. It's all fear and intimidation based, but once enough people just say no, like it's kind of over. It's only while there's very few of us and these kind of lone wolves that they can kind of pick off one by one. But when the whole country's saying, yeah, fuck you, what are they really going to do? They have to then at least pretend like they were on your side now and be like, oh yeah, no, here's the new science, here's the new plan or whatever. And they back off. But I mean, we'll see, I guess. We'll see if this thing turns around sooner rather than later. Some of it.
Yeah, I definitely I can see what you're saying about like the tide turning, and it's funny you mentioned the YouTube dislike button, because that I honestly feel like that was one of like the main like white pills for me, was like, you guys are really that scared. But there's this one YouTube channel that I watch. It's a guilty pleasure. It's like the only channel like this that I actually give any of my time. But it's this Asian couple from I think Seattle that like does like Reddit like videos, like where they're going through Reddit and like reacting to funny things in Reddit theme. And like they're really typical normie people, extremely blue pilled. When COVID first started, they were one of the like shitting on the anti-vaxxers and the anti-maskers and like shitting on me like as I'm watching their show. But like I've been watching them for probably almost 2 years now, and just slowly but surely, like I'm picking up more and more things in their videos that they're like starting to wake up to this stuff, and it's been really encouraging because they're just such normies. I mean, they're a little bit like they're nerdy and kind of into that stuff, so that already breaks them out of the normie camp a little bit. But the YouTube dislike button really pissed them off because they were talking about like you can't tell if a video is good or bad if you're like trying to find a tutorial or something like that and it's completely bogus. You can't downvote the shit out of it and make it go away. Like there's the honesty factor in YouTube just kind of completely went away with that, and they were like ranting about it for a minute or two, and I was like, yes, just keep pissing these people off until eventually they wake up, because it's gonna happen soon.
Everyone's getting rickrolled now. We're like, fuck, we can't tell now. You have to check the comments at least to figure out what's going on. Yeah, no, that's cool, right? When they're so like, this is where we're always weighing like, are they evil or stupid, right? The people in power, and it's this strange, beautiful, horrific combination of both. And on the one hand, they're evil enough to do what they do, but they're also stupid enough to not realize that when they do stuff like this, you're waking up the normies. There's this like after echo, or whatever you want to call it, collateral damage, or this unintended let's say blowback effect, and duh, you idiots, like you're waking up the people who had no reason to care about this shit, but now they're noticing things like, hey, yeah, why is my YouTube dislike button gone? Gee, I wonder why, or whatever the thing may be. And I kind of love it. I love watching them shoot themselves in the foot and panic, but it's still scary, obviously, because then a wounded animal is also very dangerous and can lash out. So we'll see how this goes, but
true that. Okay, Mr. Hank Reardon is saying Rickrolling is no longer a thing, and that's false. I have gotten Rickrolled like last week. I got Rickrolled, so that's not true.
Like it's coming back. It's like retro. Like it went away, but now it's like, oh, this is so old now. It's funny because it's old. Yeah. There you go.
It's like a hip internet revivalist movement.
Yeah, we're going back to 2007 internet right now. We're all gonna try.
I can already hear people going badger, 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 badger in the background. It's killing me.
I forgot about that.
Right?
Oh my god,
that is some Neolithic shit posting for you right there.
Man, I miss the early 2000s internet. Like, I miss early YouTube. I've been talking about this.
Flash Player.
Oh
yeah,
I don't miss Flash Player. No, I had to update that shit every fucking day. It's just
God,
like,
man.
Oh, you want to watch this video? Nope, gotta update Flash Player again.
God, we probably sound so old now already. Is this what it feels like?
Yes.
There's people watching who are probably like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
What's a Flash Player?
Yeah, next the back hurts, the knees go, and it's just downhill from there.
You can't sleep, and it doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
You have that one day where you're like, I feel a little bit off, and then 5 years later, you're like, oh, that's just who I am now.
This is my new normal. Yeah,
exactly.
I bought my best friend a mug for Christmas that says it's been one of those days for 3 years now.
Yeah, man.
Actually, talking about back pain and whatnot, that reminds me of something. Like, this is a tip for anyone who writes a lot or podcasts a lot. Get the hell out of your chair and move around. Like, this is an issue I had at first. I would sit for 12 hours straight, only getting up to pee or grab something to drink. And then I would go to bed stiff, wake up sore. I hated writing. And I started scheduling like every hour I'd take a 5-minute break and go walk around, And it just makes you feel so much better.
You're not wrong.
All of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no joke. Right before the podcast, like to the minute, I couldn't find headphones, and so I sprinted to the Target down the road, and I was looking for headphones, and of course their shelves were like practically empty, for whatever reasons, and I finally find a pair and I buy it and I come sprinting back to my apartment. And like a minute before I got on here, I'm like huffing and out of breath and just chugging this giant thing of water. And I was like, damn, I am out of shape. Like I just ran to, across the block and came back and I'm like wheezing in my bedroom with my dog watching me like, oh, that's what it looks like when humans pant. Oh, okay. So there's something there. Yeah.
Yeah, I do all of this from what used to be a dining room table chair that I reupholstered to make a little bit more comfy, but that was like a year and a half ago, and so it's back to being not really comfy. I need an actual like desk chair or like a gamer chair or something that's actually comfortable.
Yeah, I recommend spending $200 to $300 on a good office chair if you're going to be in it all day. Something with good back support, neck support. It's really important. It goes a long way. Back when I had a $35, $40 chair that I had picked up from, no, I am not a gamer. I never game. I literally work all day. I'm not going to get into that. But anyway.
How dare you?
I all day. And I write all day and all that stuff. So I'm always sitting in my chair. I used to have a cheapo Walmart chair. And I hated life. I felt like shit all the time. And then I spent a little bit of money on a chair and started doing, 5 minutes of stretching every now and then throughout the day and immediately felt better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, I'm a little too ADHD to have too much of that problem. The worst was like last spring, I was working on a campaign remotely and I was the deputy campaign manager. So like I had to be on pretty much every meeting that the campaign had. So that was the worst as far as just like sitting here forever because I was still doing the show at the time too. So it was like at least like 6 hours worth of Zoom meetings sitting in this chair a day, and then 4 or 5 hours of podcasting a week, and then editing the podcast and everything else. And I was in this chair for a solid 10 to 12 hours a day, and it was ridiculous. But normally I'm way too ADHD to have that problem, and I have to get up and do something else because just sitting still is horrible, and I hate it. And that's why I'm always like drinking and smoking and like doing things with my hands while I'm on the show because ADHD.
Yeah. My wife and I right now, we're watching Xena and Dragon Ball. And I'm not going to lie, watching those, it makes me want to work out so I can kick like Xena and I can, fight like Goku. So that's my goal.
There you go. So I did want to talk about promoting your guys' books. Jack, I know that you've got like Muddied Waters and some other people doing very interesting promos for your books.
They're tired. They've been doing it a long time now.
I was watching.
They're running out of things to say.
Right. I was watching Jason Lyon's show from yesterday, and he was like, he's a guy. I won't say if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Jack Casey's a guy.
He's been reading some of my posts. He's like, chaotic neutral? I don't know.
That sounds accurate. But what about the rest of you guys? Have you gotten any like kind of sponsorships? You run social media ads? How do you guys promote your books?
Well, I right now I haven't. I've sent a few copies to people. I also have the audiobook, so I'm sending promo codes to people. I sent Matt Wright a copy. I actually sent him 2 copies so he could give one to Spike. I don't know if anything's come of that. And a few others. I sent one to Adam Kokesh. But all of this was happening like a little bit before Thanksgiving, so I haven't really pushed the issue. But I plan to this year, and then I might do some social media marketing on it. But as of right now, it's just all been word of mouth and just occasionally injecting shameless plugs into whatever social media post I'm interacting on at the time.
Don't feel bad, by the way, if Spike hasn't read it yet, because he and Matt have read my stuff. They've been promoting that for like almost a year now. So Yeah, I'm sure they'll actually get to yours long before mine if they ever do. So,
well, I was hoping that the audiobook would make things a little bit easier, but
yeah,
like you don't even have to read it; just push play. You're fine.
I mean, if it's for Spike, you should have labeled it like Waffle House. Now that I got your attention,
salmon recipes 101. Yeah.
I love that Spike said that he'll never read your book, Jack, because if it's good, he'll feel bad about saying all the terrible shit he said about.
He's terrified to read it. He doesn't know what to do. Yeah. No, I mean, I fantasize that like he and Matt one day will break and they will secretly read it. You know, he'll lock himself in the bathroom for hours, and finish the thing because then they'll be obsessed with it. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
I don't think I'll ever write anything that makes a libertarian lock themselves in a bathroom for several hours. I'm not sure if that's the type of content I ever want to put out, but hey.
Yeah, we don't know what they're doing in the bathroom for hours. We don't know. It's ambiguous.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Maybe if you write a sequel to Chase's book and Sexual Liberty 2, maybe. Sounds like Spike Valley.
I want them to they read it, they get obsessed, and then they're mad that they like it. Like they don't want to admit it. But no, you know who has Dan Smots? I advertised on his podcast too. He read WBW and he loved it. That was great. He got on board with it, made a cool trailer, and then I'm sure he was terrified, hoping it would actually be good. And he read it and he was like, "This was fun. This was hilarious." So that was cool. I'm trying to get my libertarian endorsements of different books one by one. So working on it.
Take it. What about you, Killian? Because I know you said that you had a whole marketing plan set up before you launched your book. So what was entailed in that?
I mean, the baseline of it is word of mouth, social media posts. We used the website to use the actual ad space to basically pay ourselves to advertise ourselves using the banner space on our own website, stuff like that. The thing is,
that sounds like money laundering.
Yeah, hey, I'm in a different country. I get away with it. We just have to say sorry up here. That's it. It's great legal system. But no, I'm very meticulous with that stuff. So we had it scheduled down to all right, this will go out at this hour, this will go out at this time on this day, and this will repeat over here. Far more effort than is actually required to do it properly. But I just get really anal with scheduling stuff like that. So put me in front of a spreadsheet and I'm gone for 4 hours. That's so. But basically, yeah, just social media, the website, general reach, and from people that were either associated with BL, the website itself, webpage itself, all that stuff, word of mouth, and then like you mentioned, just kind of different podcast runs here on brought on things and got the chance to plug it and tell people to go buy the book. Which, by the way, buy the book.
Once again, for people that are new into the show, all of these wonderful guys' books are linked in the description to this video if you're on YouTube or Odyssey. Unfortunately, the rest of the platforms don't actually have a description. So go to Odyssey, which is where you should be watching this if you're not, and then click the links in the description. Go buy all of their books, and then lock yourself in the bathroom.
Think fondly of me.
What about you, Harrison? Have you done any promotion for your books?
So I did some Facebook ads and whatnot, but they didn't really pan out to anything. What I found to be the most successful is going on people's shows, like your show. I went on Shane Hazel's show and he was like, yeah, this is an instant classic, a must read. So I sold more books during that interview and from that interview than pretty much anything else I've done. So that's kind of what my strategy has been, is just tell people about the book. I wrote the sales book, but I also do a political consulting company. So they kind of work hand in hand, where I use the consulting company to sell the book, and I use the book to kind of get people to realize, yes, this guy does know what he's doing, and he's not just going to rip me off. He actually has things to tell me. So that's how I do it. I could definitely use better marketing though, and listening to these other three gentlemen talk about it, I'm sitting here taking mental note as to what I need to be doing.
Nice. Did you just say that Shane Hazel's show is better than mine? I think I heard that.
I said bigger, not better. I love you both.
If it helps y'all
it's
too,
not the size; it's how you use it, right?
That's
if it helps too, I found lately that if you do land yourself in controversy or say things that get you in trouble, sometimes the haters will try to hate read your stuff. For example, my strategy is if anyone gets too mad at me, they may don't tell them this, but they may try to read the free version of Kindle, thinking, well, I don't want to buy and support him, so I'll just read the free and kind of see how bad this guy really is. They don't know that I still get paid the same for every page they read. So that's one way you can do that too.
Interesting. I didn't know that either. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. The Kindle, I think you have to set it up for that. Only while it's doing that, you have to be exclusive with the Kindle thing. But if you ever want to take it elsewhere, you can. But if you're doing temporarily exclusive with Kindle, then they do that. Anyway.
Nice. Yeah, I so my background is in sales and marketing, so hearing people talk about marketing is always really fun. I know, Harrison, you're in the same boat with that one. But yeah, I love that you were taking mental notes too, because that's kind of like that was the point of the show, was to try to grab information from all of you so writers can figure out what they're doing wrong and how to do things better. So this has been great so far. Sorry, that hurt. So what books are floating around your guys' heads that you might write in the future?
I've been thinking about this for a couple of. Well, I need to preface this by saying that my wife has forbade me from writing another book for the next 2 years. So it's going to be a minute. I took a lot of time away from her to write the first one. But I got a couple of ideas. One, I already have a title for. I don't have an outline or anything yet, but the title is United Slaves of America. I think that's pretty sweet. So if anybody publishes a book with that title, they stole it from me.
Kill them. I'll get the sword. Just that's aggression. That's self-defense. Right. What can you do? Yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, if we're being honest, IP doesn't exist, so it's not really stealing anything. But no. So that one would probably be another philosophical work, like the Liberty Solution is. But I also have this idea to write a fictitious novel, probably set in like a post-economic collapse setting, with the creation of Ancapistan and some internal conflicts that happen, or maybe some group of libertarians buy a bunch of land and try to set up Ancapistan in modern day America, and it's their fight against the U.S. government trying to extort money from them. That becomes the plot. I don't know. I'm leaning a little bit more towards that one. And that's how I end up dying in prison. Yeah.
I would love to whisper encouragement in your ear that you do this idea. Yes. Even if it's secretly without letting the you-know-who know.
Is that our new code word for the state is now Voldemort? We're just calling it you-know-who.
Oh, no, I meant the wife.
Oh, the wife.
However, applicable in many scenarios. Whoever's trying, I'm just
Clearly, I didn't know who you were talking about, so I guess it doesn't work.
You don't know who.
Yeah.
No, I highly encourage, if any of you have, creative fiction impulses, go for it. It's so rewarding. It's so fun. Whether or not you decide to go all the way or publish it, it's such a cool, just mind process. Go for it.
I mean, for myself, I've got a fiction thing I've been working on, completely unrelated. I've just got it sitting off to the side until I've got time to get a good look at it again. For something a little more in the liberty sphere of writing, I've been working a little bit in between other projects. I've been working a little bit right now on fleshing out similar idea collection article stuff like that on self-mastery. So there's a lot of stuff that, you know, we talk about having like a libertarian type world, and that sounds great, but how do people actually function when they have to make those choices and decisions themselves? How do you actually prep yourself to be able to handle a truly libertarian environment like that, where you don't have a nanny state literally wiping your ass every time you go to the bathroom? You know, how do you get yourself ready for that? And not like this like far out like survivalist type things, but just, you know, if you don't have, you know, the police taking care of dealing with this, that, or the next thing, minus the, you know, killing of people, but the things they're supposed to be doing, you know, they're not taking care of that, or even just general self-management in and of itself, I find is a topic that a lot of people are really poor on. Even I find that in the libertarian movement, where it's about people being able to have that freedom and make those choices and be able to control their own lives. But a lot of people are really shitty pilots if they want to control their own lives. So I think something around that might be very helpful. So those are just two things I've had working in the background so far.
I love that. I would read the shit out of that book. Because I feel like I could use it for sure. I agree. There's so many people in the liberty movement, and myself 100% included as an entirely self-deprecating comment. But like, we want to, you know, bring freedom into the world and like let people live their own lives, to live them how they want to live them. And like, we live shitty lives. Like, we don't eat right, we don't sleep right. We're like, most of us are like burnouts or alcoholics or something else. Like, there's a lot of
some people. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, is that Jameson or wine? Because it looks like whiskey.
It is Jameson. Yes.
Nice.
Good choice. Good choice.
I need to throw this
I
off
agree.
out there. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, mine's not important. Don't worry about it.
No. You go ahead. I was just going to add. I'd say that the no, I agree that sense that like we want people to be free, but it doesn't stop us from advocating for what we think people could or should do with their freedom. What better lifestyles? You know, like it should free us to make commentary on what we think would be a better way of life and stuff. That it's okay to add our own personal advocacy of choices. It doesn't make us unlibertarian to separately be like, you should be free. Here's what I think you should do with your life, or here's what works for me, you know, and or what doesn't work for me, and try to, you know, yeah, I agree. What were you saying?
My comment was on wine, because I'm kind of a wine snob. But I found out in doing research of French Bordeaux's that there is a Grand Cru, but basically like top tier wine called Chateau Lafite Rothschild, and the name is not coincidental. It's literally owned by the Rothschilds. And it's like,
my god. Yeah.
It's like I can never buy that wine.
Yeah, no.
I'm biting my tongue so hard.
Maybe for target practice, like we could take some to the range, and
these are very expensive bottles. You know.
When you're done, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Drink it and then shoot it.
Yeah, but then you still end up giving money to the Rothschild family. I can't do that from a moral standpoint.
No. Yeah, that's a good question. Is it stealing if the original
cargo pants?
Wait, say that again.
Sorry. I was gonna say 2 words: cargo pants. Very, very simple way to get whichever wine bottle you want.
I'm thinking of the line from Pirates of the Caribbean where he's like, sometimes an act of piracy could be the right thing or whatever. there's nothing after I have given you an opening.
Gotcha. I do that way too often.
I've actually had one of the same ideas that Derek was talking about, where you write about what would it look like if a group of people went and bought, 1,000 acres in the middle of nowhere and tried to just start Ancapistan here. What would happen? It's an awesome idea. There's so many different directions to go with it. And I think it really would give a kind of neat idea as to, what would we expect it to look like? How would that transition happen? Would they send the National Guard in? Would they try to stop food from getting in? What would they do? Block cell phone, all kinds of stuff. I've also got a book that I've really started trying to think more about, where it's a real play on COVID, and it's kind of a stupid one, but there's mice that have moved into the city, and they've got like a 2% chance if they bite you that you're going to die. And so then we just start going through all these really stupid things where now everyone has to wear knee-high boots that are made of steel. Kind of like going through and saying, like, do you see how ridiculous this was? They didn't follow any of the science. They didn't follow their own lines. And kind of doing like I did with the Parasite's Paradise, where it's all like it's all based on real events and real people, but it would be kind of a stupid one. It would just be fun. Like that's what that would be. That would be a fun one. And then I want to do a follow-up with Volume 2 for Souls of Freedom, and I'm working on turning a Parasite's Paradise into a script for a movie. So I got a lot of writing to do.
Nice.
If I may, David, you could feel free to tell me to shut the fuck up if you want. It's your show and I'm a guest. But if I would like to actually plug a friend of mine's book, since we're talking about this, he actually wrote a really damn good book.
Shut the fuck up! No, sorry.
Oh my god.
I'm so sorry. Please continue.
No,
I actually want you to continue.
It's entitled American Insurgent, and the premise is that we live in a fictitious America where the Second Amendment's been repealed, and full-on gun confiscation has started, and it starts off with the protagonist being the first one to shoot back. It's actually a really damn good book. I would just recommend it for everyone. It's called American Insurgent by Phil Rabelais. Great book. Nice. And I don't know if y'all know who Tyler Lindholm is, but he narrated the audiobook. He's a former state rep out of Wyoming, very liberty-minded Republican.
Oh, cool.
Good. Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah. Oh, awesome plug. No, I was going to say
told me to shut the fuck up too. I appreciate it.
That could be a book about First Amendment.
Yeah, right. There you go. I was going to say to Harrison, what you're saying about open political satire. I've been diving into that lately. That's what the WVW thing I wrote's about, where it's like, so the Royal Green series is a trilogy where I wrote it years ago when I was going through my own kind of journey along into other thoughts and stuff. So it's very organic and kind of maybe more palatable to the normies who are just looking for fantasy stuff, and they kind of get some of those themes in there. And that is in and of itself like a origin story pilot trilogy of what could be a bigger expanded series, but also very self-contained as a story if you just want to read that and be done with it. But the WVW thing I have, it's just a short 100-page thing where same idea. After COVID, I was like, I have to talk about this. I have to write about this because it's so hilariously ridiculous that like I just want to write open political satire. So the whole premise of like werewolves, witches, and vampires is like if they took over and were running society and we all just thought that was normal, and we were like, oh yeah, no, you just drink your blood and you do your, they're mandating your potions to take, or you got to wear your fucking talisman to ward off whatever the thing is, and same idea. It's a sort of pilot episode that could be an extended series if people really like it, because I agree. I feel like the times we're in deserve so much ridicule. I want future generations to read about how fucking ridiculous this whole thing was by reading satire, comedy, and fiction that kind of shows just just how weird it was. Because I think for future people who look back, they'll read about it, but they'll need to see just how absurd a lot of this turned out to be, and we get to be the ones that tell them how fucking dumb it all was.
So
you know, that sounds like a great project.
Go for it. Go for it. I want more of this. More of just us ridiculing the last 2 years like crazy.
So what I'm hearing is that you guys are all trying to write South Park episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a collaboration between Matt Stone and Trey Parker and all four of us.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
They're still libertarian, right? They came out as libertarians a while back. Are they?
If we could actually get in a meeting with them somehow, some way, if we had a magic genie that could do it, and we got in a meeting with them and we pitched it, I bet we could get them, after enough weed, we could probably get them to say yes. You know, I wouldn't.
It would just be great if. Yeah, that'd be cool. Or even just if, like, by the time we've gotten to the presidential run going, we've just, our energy, libertarian movement, and everything has been so awesome that they just episodes like featuring people running or like ridiculing all of our opponents or something. I don't know if they would necessarily go for that because they want to make fun of everyone, and there's plenty to make fun of in our own circles and our own libertarian stuff. But yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Hey, I mean, I'd settle for them making fun of us too. Like, if they want to throw Joe Jorgensen in an episode and make a dungeon joke, like, I'm all for it.
Oh my god, yes. Well, to full disclosure, I do make fun of us libertarians in WBW as well.
It's easy to
I don't hold back any punches. I punch everyone. And myself, honestly. I ridicule myself too a little bit.
I mean, for me, the easy go-to joke for any libertarian is I'm about to get naked on stage. I mean...
the good old days.
He wasn't a real libertarian, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, I know him. Yeah.
I actually got to meet him this year, or this past year, which was fun. He's actually pretty chill. I spent 5 years talking shit about him online, and then I finally met him in person, and I was like, oh, now I kind of feel bad.
Oh, I'm sure he's a great guy. I've never met him, but
actually, the moment that I realized that he was actually pretty dope, one of his friends made a motion at the Michigan convention, or a resolution towards the end of the business meeting, and the resolution was just, be it resolved, fuck the police. Like, that was the resolution. And the convention was doing voice votes by then, so it sounded like it died, but it was close. So they actually called for James called for a division of the assembly so that everyone who wanted to vote against this resolution had to actually stand up in the middle of the room of libertarians and say, no, I don't agree with this, which sadly was a majority of the room, but it made a majority of the room stand up and be like, nope, we are bootlickers and we don't want to say fuck the police officially as an organization. And then
we love the taste of kiwi shoe polish.
Yeah, and
that is hilarious.
The best part was Spike Cohen got up and tried to make a friendly amendment to the motion that it said "darn the police" instead.
See, this sounds like a South Park
that's pretty funny
already.
Right. See, and I'm a huge fan of keep the Libertarian Party weird, bold, offensive, and just like, look, this is a long shot. We may as well throw everything we can and just be as interesting and funny and weird as possible and just get people's attention, but also be deadly serious and be like, this shit matters. And I don't know, pull people in with our tolerance for even the strangest of us, in that regard. So
I have an idea for what the LP should do for 2024. They should not nominate anybody to actually run for president, and they should just say, hey, everyone go to the ballot and vote for yourself. Imagine for a second if if that actually got some steam, you have like, I don't know, 700,000 people that voted for themselves.
Or put like Noda on the presidential ballot, like see if we can get none of the above as the winner. And then if it succeeds, we're like, I guess there's no president. The American people have spoken. It's over.
Are you suggesting that we run Nick Sarwark for president?
That actually might work.
Oh my god!
I mean, Nick always did have that kind of glow to him, you know.
I'm pretty sure that's the toxicity floating around him.
Yeah. Fuck that guy. I know you're watching. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you.
I don't think Nick Sarwark has ever watched my show, even when I had his wife on.
He pops up in strange places I don't expect. Yeah.
That is true.
I've never even met him.
Comment section all too often on social media.
Yeah, I've seen enough.
Yeah, just a bad take factory.
Anyway, so speaking of monsters, I have this book about monsters taking over, and
Is it a historical documentary over the creation of the first state?
Let's just say there's something in there to trigger everyone.
I like it. It seems exactly like a book a libertarian would write. We got to trigger all the people.
I was even offended by stuff in there. I was like, damn.
Did you hurt your own feelings?
Am I publishing
Jack?
this?
Oh man.
Turns out it's just like 200 pages just trying to convince people that jorts are popular again.
All right, who gave you the draft of the sequel? Who told you?
Publisher and Insider Trading. It's a thing. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I'm still waiting for a flat earther book from you.
Listen, we're gonna have a talk next week. It's gonna be a. Is it fair to call it a debate, or is it more like a friendly conversation about
somewhere in between? Who knows?
How much we've been lied to? What we'll wait till next week. We'll cover that next week.
Yeah. For those watching, Jack Casey is coming on to the Fight Club next week to debate flat earther theory, and it's going to be a great time.
Or put another way, David Fite's going to propose a rounder theory to me, and you can decide if that makes any sense to you. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll have fun either way.
I'm biting my lip. I can't.
Before we started, Derek and I were talking
Clearly
about
a cube.
this. Did you say it's a cube?
What? No.
The Earth is Tyrannosaurus Rex shaped. Okay.
Best theory.
Now, Jack, you'll love this. I posted on Twitter yesterday who makes the worst memes, the left or flat earthers.
Some of them are terrible. Yeah. No, I'll agree.
But 95% was voted for the left out of like 130 votes. So
that's encouraging, at least.
Yeah, at least there's that. No, I will share this real quick. I did have a discussion with a flat earther at the time I was working for Lockheed Martin. Building the military industrial complex, right? And
ouch. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, right. A part of me died every time. Yeah. Well, this guy I worked with was a flat earther, and I was talking with him, and I found a central theme that we could kind of focus on, and that is we're both really into guns. And I bring up Coriolis force for whenever you're shooting beyond 1,000 meters, and I showed him the equation for a specific charge or whatever it was at the latitude that we were currently at, shooting due north. And I said, you can see here that I now need to correct 8 inches to the left. And if I go to the southern hemisphere, it's now 8 inches to the right. And I thought I could see the wheels turning, and I showed him a ballistics calculator that checked all my math for me, and it was right there. And he comes back the next day. And he's like, "You're using bogus math to correct for windage." I'm like, "Can you show me in this equation where you see wind speed or direction at all? Because it doesn't exist." And
Interesting.
It was at that point I realized I can't have this conversation anymore.
There are some, I don't want to say bad faith, but I've seen the good, the bad on both sides of the stuff. Where so some people seem to want to treat it more like a faith-based thing. I'll say this: it'd be an interesting conversation. I at least at a minimum, I'll ask this: with how much has happened in the last 2 years, how much the scorecard of conspiracy theorists keeps getting checked off versus normal world, right? We've got the sex trafficking pedophiles, we've got the the COVID bullshit
Turning
stuff.
The frogs gay.
Right, yeah. The more it keeps getting checked off, they're like, hey, maybe we should have microchips for the vaccine passport in your hand or whatever. It's like extend at least some sympathy for those of us who are at the point where we're like, fuck it. Everything's back on the table. Let's re-examine everything.
I mean,
you watch some old NASA videos or you watch some ISS footage. They're like dropping pens and zero G and shit, and you're like, hold on a second. At a minimum, maybe the flat Earth stuff helps show how much maybe our government has been bullshitting some stuff, regardless of the shape of the Earth, right? I mean,
you
it could
don't
be
even
that
need
there's
that though.
Yeah,
you don't.
No,
you got
for sure.
so much else that's actually definitive and provable, like MK Ultra, Operation Ajax.
Yeah. It's just how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? How many Red Bulls can you swallow? We're just gonna keep we'll see.
If you're gonna travel,
we'll figure it out next week.
Yeah, if you're gonna travel down the conspiracy theorist rabbit hole, I'd rather you end at flat earther than like Holocaust denier. So because I feel like you end up one or the other. Most of the people that I know that go all the way down those rabbit holes, it's one or the other.
I will say that the same individual that I spoke about at Lockheed was also a Holocaust denier.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I'm just like, dude, you realize I cannot have this conversation with you. He's like, I'm not trying to be anti-Semitic or anything. I'm like, I cannot even begin to have this conversation with you. Please stop talking before I punch you in the throat.
Yeah, I've noticed, like, with people who are Holocaust deniers, there's always two ways that they could do it. And one of them I have a little bit of sympathy for, which is to say, I think there was a lot more behind the scenes internationally that was going on that we're not being told about. So they're not denying the Holocaust happened. They're denying that it started the way we're originally told. Okay.
Yeah,
we
at least to be free to ask questions, right? Like right. Numbers and things like that, right? Yeah.
But then there are people who say 7 people died and that was it. And so you've got these two really big spectrums of denier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I when you go down these rabbit holes, there's pitfalls and there's other stuff. There can be a lot out there that maybe turns out to not be true or not. But I like the people whose instincts are keep questioning shit because, at least then we'll figure out what is and isn't bullshit by questioning it constantly, by going, all right, why do I know this is true? Is this true? And if it is, how can I show it's true? Without relying on, because CNN told me or something, right? Like getting to the source of why we know what is and isn't true about all this stuff. History. I mean, again, COVID's a great example of if they can pull off this shit with COVID in 2 years, imagine how much we do or don't know decades later because they got away with other stuff, right? And if the same groups of people who are running the COVID, regime shit are doing the 9/11 stuff or whatever else has been going on, it's like, yeah, we should keep questioning. Let's just see where that goes, see where that leads, and
it actually would be safe. Obviously, it would be safe to just adopt a position that if the government or the media says it, I automatically don't believe you. I'm cool with that.
Just about at that level myself.
Yeah, in a very like non-specific. It's like not even targeting any groups or anything. It's just like I'm gonna wait and see what I believe based on what the media is telling you. Yeah, I like that. Assume that they're lying as a starting point, and then work towards what is and isn't true about everything.
Yeah, lie until proven truth.
Yeah.
I dig it. So before we wrap up, I want to give all of you guys another opportunity to pitch your books and whatever else you guys are working on, and how everybody can find your books other than the links that are in the description. So Derek, you want to take that away?
Yeah, sure. So my book is entitled The Liberty Solution. Here is the cover for it. It's available on Amazon. You can just type in The Liberty Solution or Derek R. Wills. You'll find it on Amazon. I have paperback as well as audiobook. I need to get the Kindle version up and going, but I got to reformat the whole thing, and we talked about laziness. Yeah, been lazy lately. So yeah, and also Gentlemen for Liberty podcast. Cody and I are going to be starting that up. I think this week, if not next. We'll be starting that back up. We've been kind of on a hiatus. He moved to Oregon, and I had a lot of things at work going on, so I just life and time. So we'll be starting that back up here soon. And of course, gentlemenforliberty.com and all of our socials, Gentlemen for Liberty. And Twitter is at gents4liberty. So
nice.
Yeah. For my stuff, you can always get the book Bad Arguments, Guide to Logic Winning Debates. That's through you'll find on Amazon, hard copy or the Kindle edition there as well. As far as being able to follow me, obviously you can follow Being Libertarian, any of its social media feeds. You can follow me directly. I'm not really on anything other than just Facebook for right now. So if you just search Killian Hobbs author, you'll find me on there for the odd meme and occasional rant. Other than that, big thing that I'd put out there is that if you are an author that's looking for assistance with publication, or you're looking to get something out there that's liberty-minded, go to beinglibertarian.com/champion-books, and you'll see the email there as well as the base guidelines for being able to submit a book to us. And then I'd look forward to talking to you, hearing from you, and seeing what we can make happen.
Might help if I spelled champion right in the fucking
English is hard. It's okay.
It really is.
Me fail English, that's impossible.
Jack Casey, how can people find your book series and you and everything else going on?
Yes, jackcaseybooks.com. It is sometimes a work in progress, much like my life. I can promise you this. I'm on Facebook. I'm trying to get on the other things, sometimes on and off, sometimes the alt platform, sometimes the main ones. You'll find me. And I will say this. If you like the ideas and fun, fringe, weird things I talk about, regardless of which ones pan out to be true, they make for great stories, and you'll often find similar fun themes and ideas in my fiction. So if you like or are entertained by anything I've said tonight, buy some books, have some fun, and let me know what you think. I appreciate feedback and all that good
is
stuff.
the Royal Green set on flat Earth?
Well, I'll say this. They're fantasy novels, so if they include some possible space stuff, does that make them fantasy or sci-fi? I don't know. That's up to the reader to decide. I'll let you figure that out.
Nice. Harrison, you're up.
Yeah, so you can find all my books on Amazon. Just honestly, the easiest way is just look my name up, Harrison Kemp. Go to my author profile. You can find all three of them. Closing Freedom is $12.50. A Parasite's Paradise is $12.50, and then A Brief Inquiry, that is $5. So for $30, you can get them all. We're also on Kindle, and you can get all of them for like $10 that way. Probably the cheapest way to do it. You can find my latest project at kempformaine.com. My blog site is down at the moment. It's all being rearranged given my upcoming campaign. So yeah, definitely check out my work and support me. And yeah, thank you for having me on, Dave. Good to see you again.
Real quick though, is that FOR Maine or the number 4?
4. Yep. KEMPFOR Maine.com.
Okay. Sweet. Super excited to see how that gubernatorial race ramps up and pans out.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I've got some key endorsements in the works right now and some pretty sweet podcasts lined up for the next couple of months. So really looking to make it work and try to get about, 20, 30% of the vote in this. It'll be a 3-way race. So pretty excited.
Nice. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. This was absolutely awesome. I laughed way more than I was expecting to, and really didn't expect it to get into a flat Earth Holocaust denial conversation, but it got there. Guys, thank you. Go ahead. I thought I heard somebody start to talk. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, I've had most of these guys' social media scrolling across the bottom, so go follow them, go like all of their pages, then go buy all of their books, and like I said, then you go lock yourself in the bathroom and read them all. Don't come out until you've read all 3 Royal Greens, as well as all of the other of these books. You've got like 9 books to read. Hopefully, it's a really long shit. But we'll be back here next week with Avens O'Brien and James Siniak, who's running for Senate in Indiana, and then also Jack Casey on the Fight Club discussing globe Earth theory. And we're gonna have a great time on that. If you haven't done so already, click the like button on this video and the subscribe button and the share button and send it to everybody so they can learn how to self-author books and get them out there and spread liberty through writing. Because I think it's an awesome mission that you guys are all doing, and I'm really glad y'all are around doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the time. This was fun.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see you back here next week, guys. Until then, keep up the fight.
Love you, David.
Shut up and sit down.